Alright gamers, we got some new content that is due to arrive in Stellar Blade at some point soon, some exciting stuff for sure. I know at this stage a lot of people are eager to know if Shift Up are planning on developing some form of DLC to expand the game even further. In regards to a full-blown purchasable DLC, this is something that is still under consideration according to director Kim Hyung-tae. I do think that a big DLC for this game though is sort of inevitable at this point. Stellar Blade is receiving pretty positive reviews all around. Regardless of some of the drama that has ensued for the game, it is nothing but a success from the seams so far, even to the point of this game being the highest rated PlayStation 5 exclusive via the user reviews for Metacritic. The game was the most pre-ordered title for the main PlayStation storefront, along with Amazon there leading up to release. We've also heard reports that this game is sold out in a lot of places throughout Japan as of right now, meaning that Stellar Blade is becoming a big hit over in Japan. We also know that Stellar Blade has hit #1 on the physical sales charts for the UK. So the game is definitely a big success for Shift Up. So this likely means that we will receive DLC for the game, but more importantly, a sequel. I would love to see Stellar Blade become a long-running franchise for Shift Up. Kim in the past has talked about sequel potential, finding out more about certain characters if of course we see something like a Stellar Blade 2, and I think with just where the game is sitting as of right now, it certainly warrants the fact that we will likely get a Stellar Blade 2 at some point in the future. However though, let's talk about the smaller pieces of content that are in fact coming to the game. We know that we got New Game Plus that dropped via the Day 1 patch, and I have to say I'm going through New Game Plus at the moment right now. I've almost finished it up and it is fantastic. It is one of the best examples of a New Game Plus done right. You transfer over everything that you've already got throughout the first playthrough. On top of that, you now have access to brand new equipable gear, heaps of new costume color variations, brand new skills to pull off. Along with that, new enemy placements, enemies in areas where they previously weren't throughout your first playthrough. So Shift Up have confirmed that a boss rush mode is planned for the game. This offers a more challenging experience to Stellar Blade, where you take on sequentially all of the bosses that you face throughout the game. People have sort of been asking for more hard mode content in Stellar Blade. I am doing my New Game Plus playthrough on hard mode, which is unlocked once you've finished your first run of the game. And I have to say, there are some challenging parts of Stellar Blade, being that it takes some DNA from the Souls-like genre, though it sort of mixes in hack and slash at the same time. But because of that Souls-like type DNA mixed into it, there are some challenges. That being said, hard mode isn't exactly hard, grueling, extremely challenging in that regard, because by the point of unlocking hard mode, you're probably going to run back through it on New Game Plus, where you already have access to a bunch of abilities, gear pieces, and at that point you probably already know the game inside out. So hopefully something like a boss rush mode will offer players a slightly harder challenge for the game. Personally, I think something that is one step above something like a boss rush mode is definitely Devil May Cry's Bloody Palace mode, where you go through multiple floors and waves of enemies, eventually reaching bosses after about 10 or 20 floors. This is in equal parts a combat and sort of stamina challenge mixed into one, and something like this would work fantastically for Stellar Blade. The other stuff that is confirmed to come is costumes. So we know that costumes are a big part of this game, and previously Shift Up did mention that additional costumes will likely be added to the game. So we've got our first wave of this, a collaboration between Stellar Blade and Shift Up's other big game, Neke, Goddess of Victory. Now, of course, this was bound to happen, especially when you look at some of the outfits in Neke, as well as the character designs. It kind of explains why Stellar Blade's characters and outfits look the way they do. This is most definitely Shift Up's forte, so it's not surprising to see that some of the outfits from the characters in Neke will be costumes here in Stellar Blade. However, it is mentioned to be a cross collaboration, meaning that some of the characters from Stellar Blade will be getting added into Neke. It's mentioned that Eve, Lily, Raven, and Taki will be appearing in the game. There is one collaboration that I think is bound to happen at this stage, and that is with Nia, giving Eve a Kaine and 2B costume. The reason I say this is because in the past, Square Enix have actually collaborated with Shift Up to bring Nier Automata characters into Neke. We also know that Yoko Taro, the director of Nier, here loves to have 2B appear in as many games as humanly possible. Shortly before the release of Stellar Blade as well, Yoko Taro actually sat down to chat with Kim, the director of Stellar Blade, to talk about the game. It was about a couple of years ago that Yoko Taro had explained his interest in Stellar Blade, but this recent interview where the two sat down to talk about the upcoming game was fantastic. Mentioning Stellar Blade is a really amazing game, I'd say that it's much better than Nier Automata. The graphics are completely next-gen quality, and the character design's direction is amazing. The cool male characters and cute female characters unique to Mr. Kim's style are really appealing. Shops and RPGs often have a close-up shot of the shopkeeper, which I don't like because I think it feels unnatural. Stellar Blade has a shot like that too, but the shopkeeper was so cute that I didn't mind. Her cuteness felt more important than any design choices. He went on to explain, I kind of knew that Stellar Blade was going to be compared with Nier Automata, and I told Mr. Kim when we first met. If you actually play it, you'll instantly realize that it's a very different game, but a delicate female character doing cool action is bound to draw comparisons. If Stellar Blade would have been the same game with a macho male character, I think people wouldn't have pointed out the similarities. It just happens to be that there are not many games with a similar style. It's nice to hear these words spoken by Yoko Taro, because naturally there were a lot of comparisons made between Stellar Blade and Nier Automata. We of course already know that Kim and his team were heavily inspired by Nier Automata, but that being said, Stellar Blade is very much its own thing. Now that we've all had a chance to play it, it's very clear these are two different games, though there is a little bit of that Nier touch certainly infused into Stellar Blade. However, it definitely seems as if Yoko Taro is very, very fond of Kim as well as his work here, so I think that a Nier collab is certainly in the cards. Another important slice of pie that recently came out is that Korea are looking to bolster console game development in the country. Korea's main focus when it comes to gaming is the mobile games industry. Console game development isn't really prevalent over in Korea, and so this is something that the government are actually wanting to change, to literally help development studios craft console games. I think this is a response through the success of Lies of P and the recent Stellar Blade. We're starting to see console-developed Korean games pop up, and the two biggest examples that we have so far have been fantastic titles. This is a 5-year plan that was quite literally announced by the Korean government, who mentioned that they are going to help developers work and cooperate with big companies like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo to help develop blockbuster titles. Because ultimately, if this means that they can start producing high-quality console titles, because these types of games are the ones that appeal to the Western world, then in return, this benefits the Korean economy. So we should start to see more games coming out of Korea in the next half decade. However guys, that's all you need to know about Stellar Blade for the meantime. I am due to get my review and thoughts about the game out at some point soon. I'm pretty much just trying to finish up New Game Plus, but it's fantastic, man. Like one of the best plays of 2024 without a single doubt. Thank you guys so much for tuning on in. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so that you can keep up to date with what's the haps. Check out my other social media platforms. A big thank you to my turkey-tastic patrons. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and we'll talk real soon.